Welcome to It's a Grand Life. Did you know that in the United States alone, 2.4 million kids are being raised by their grandparents or other family members other than mom or dad? 2.4 million. It's a Grand Life is a podcast for those grandparents and kinship caregivers who are committed to making a difference for those kids. Grand families are in every neighborhood, every city, tribe, and territory nationwide. If this is you or someone you love, this podcast is for you. Our goal is to offer hope and resources to help you. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel or follow us wherever you get your audio podcasts and leave a review. Every new subscriber and review helps us reach others that need assistance. Welcome to another episode of It's a Grand Life. Hello, my name is Craig Nash, and we'd like to welcome you to another It's a Grand Life. And, many of us, when we become part of a grand family, we think, at least initially, we think it's only us that are going through these things, and we're the only ones facing these challenges. But the longer I'm on this grand family journey, the longer I realize that this is affecting everyone in our country, one way or the other. And I'm delighted to have our guest here with us, Representative Jamie Thompson from District 28 in the House of Representatives from the state of Michigan, my home state. And she not only is doing a phenomenal job in Lansing, but she is also a member of a grand family. So she knows exactly what we're dealing with and what we're going through. And we're going to hear her story today on It's a Grand Life. And Jamie, Representative Thompson, welcome to It's a Grand Life.
Thank you so much. It feels really good to be here. And thank you so much for what you're doing and for being the voice of so many grandparents, not only across the country, but, right here in Michigan. So I'm really glad to be here. I'm so excited to be able to connect with you and connect with everyone out there and be able to tell my story, hear their stories, and just be there for each other.
Well, we had such a great chat last month before year end, and I felt like I had known you for years, let alone just an initial phone conversation, because in many ways our stories had paralleled one another. But for our listeners, Representative Thompson, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you became let's start with how you became a representative in the House of Representatives. That's not something you hear about every day. How'd that happen?
Well, it's honestly becoming a grandparent, not even becoming a grandparent, but becoming a part of this grand family, this grand life, which though that terminology is a little new to me. I think you guys have done a great job of putting that out there, that this is culturally we've become part of these grand families. Yes. So when I stepped into that role, that is really what prompted me to run for state representative. So my story, the story of my daughter's accident and becoming the guardian to our 3 grandchildren, is what prompted me to run for state representative. And it became my sole mission, not only because it was so important to me to be able to be a voice for families and children and be able to do everything I could to make sure that they had the best Michigan possible to grow up in, but also to deal, honestly, with my own hurt and my own pain with losing my daughter. It gave me a mission, and it gave me an outlet for that pain. And it was very much God-centered. It became God said, I asked God, I said, I can't deal with this pain, and I need you to take it from me and tell me what to do with it, and use my words and use my feet to stand where I need to. And it just became very clear that you have the opportunity, because you have this voice and this story that resonates with people, and you can make a difference. So I just jumped into running for office, never having any political background.
Wow.
Just kind of talking to the community, getting in front of people, letting them know that, yes, I know politics is very partisan, and I may have certain beliefs that you may not have, but solely my mission is to do the best for our children and our families. And I think that there's so much we can work on together. So that's why I ran. I was not projected to win. Like I said, my background is in nursing. I'm 47 years old. I've been a nurse for almost 15 years now. So I did go back to school to be a nurse after getting to be a stay-at-home mom with my children. And once they were all in school, then I had made that decision that, now I would focus on my career. Mm-hmm. And then God had different plans. Everything that happened across the country and in our state in 2020 with the pandemic,
right?
Things that were happening in my husband's business. At that time, my daughter was trying to go to school herself. So we started, I went contingent at work and started pulling away from that and trying to focus on being the parents that were providing our daughter with support because she had 3 small children and all of her college coursework had been put on Zoom. The 2 grandchildren that were in school were trying to do Zoom. And I was in a position that my husband was a contractor. He had a painting company and I could kind of help him a little bit with the business, also stay contingent at work. We really downsized a lot of things because it was just important to get through what was going on with COVID, support our daughter, make sure the grandkids were okay. And then in 2021, on November 24th, 2021, our 24-year-old daughter was taken in a motorcycle accident. So we were that family that had that knock on the door at 7:30 in the morning. Wow. That she was gone. And everything that you could imagine you would feel, and I know many of your listeners, and I know, even her just being taken away from me in death, and it seems so weird to say that because there's been so much time that I've had to say certain words that I wasn't always able to say. And I went through a long period of, I still kind of say passed away or taken. To put your child and death in the same sentence is so hard to say. And I would tell people there's just words I can't say yet. But even when you have a child that has become misguided or has addiction and you've lost them to that, you have a loss. Right. There is a loss. There is a loss. So I connected very much with that. So, after the accident, my daughter was 24. The grandchildren at that time were 3, 5, and 7. Wow. They had lived most of their life with us because she had the first grandchild at 17. She had our support. Mm-hmm. We very much gave her the support she needed to finish school. She became a CNA, moved forward in nursing, wanted to go to school for nursing because I'm a nurse. My mom's a nurse. That was always my daughter's dream as well. And then having boom, 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 3 kids very quickly. And the children's father, as much as we tried to take him under our wing and help him out, it just didn't work out. And there's a lot of backstory that I found out afterwards to some of the things that she had went through with abuse with him. And that's another thing I'm very passionate about that I'm going to be working on moving forward is the psychological and emotional abuse in a lot of the relationships in our younger generation that we're seeing that's not okay. Right. So he was given the opportunity to stand up and get his life together and be a father to these children. And when faced with that reality that he had to be held accountable, he walked away. So the children have not seen their father since July of 2021, nor have we seen his family. So I have, sole guardianship of the 3 of them. They are doing wonderful. The greatest joy that we can have is that they are stable, they are loved, they're excelling in school. They feel a sense of stability, they feel safe, they have wonderful memories, and we talk about my daughter, and I see my daughter in them. I feel like I was blessed with that joy that I have a child, well, especially my granddaughter Braxton, because she's just like my daughter. So we have made the best out of a very terrible situation, which is not easy for a lot of people. Right. It involved a lot of prayer, a lot of support from our family and our friends, and a lot of ultimately coming to the conclusion that there is a bigger picture here, and there sometimes becomes pain and suffering and concerns and worries that we can't handle, and that's okay to give that to God. 100%. And I know you and I, when we talked last time, I heard this wonderful message from Rick Warren from Saddleback Church, who talked about not wasting your pain. And that was his message after his 26-year-old son committed suicide. He had behavioral health issues. And that really motivated me to step out and do this podcast. It's a grand life. I wanted to support grand families who are in our situation where, life changes and we have to adjust to those changes, especially in light of having these little ones in the house with us, and how do we make the best of that? And there's a whole other world of grand families that are kinship caregivers that are really struggling financially, that, they didn't take the steps to get their retirement plan together. And then all of a sudden they've got 1 to 3 mouths to feed. And that's a big adjustment. And I know you love your grandkids, and I love my granddaughter, but we
it was a little surprise when we started raising them and became the sole caregivers. But the fact that the kids are thriving and they are seeing stability in school and in the neighborhood and with family and friends, that's priceless, don't you think?
It really is. It really is. A lot of people, when people hear our story or talk to us, their first response is to somehow congratulate us and look at us like we did something that was, heroic. Wow, they're so blessed to have you. And then it's a sort of a response we really believe it's the other way around. I've
Right.
never considered that I did anything heroic or they're blessed to have me. It's always, we're so blessed to have them. I couldn't imagine doing anything else. I couldn't
100%.
imagine, and you think we were at a stage in our life where we had 3 children. At the time of the accident, Jordan was 24 and our 2 boys were 22 and 20.
Okay.
So one of them, the 22-year-old, was already out of the house. And then the 20-year-old had 1 foot out of the house. So he was hardly ever home. My husband and I kind of got to that place where we would find ourselves, even though we spent a lot of time with the grandkids, and we would keep them for the weekend, and we would, if my daughter needed to study or maybe she just needed to have a night out without kids, we were always there having them. They were very much a part of our life, but there was still some weekends where we would say, wow, we don't have to be home for dinner, or there's nobody to have to make dinner for, or why aren't we just going off to Grand Rapids for the weekend? And it was it was like a hit. Wow. When did this happen? We don't have the responsibility of having to be home or tell anyone where we're at. We kind of just started embracing that. We had decided to finally renovate our kitchen, renovate our house, turn our 3-bedroom ranch into a 2-bedroom so we could finally have that master bedroom that we wanted. And God said, nope. You're raising children is not over. I need you to step in and raise these children. And then for me, there was a lot of looking back. I think you look back, as much as we try to do the best job we can with our kids, we always make mistakes. Oh, I hear it, Grandma. I'm in the basement. Grandma's on a meeting, honey. We have interesting. So we have all 3 grandkids home from school today because 2 of them tested positive for strep with the sore throat and the headache. And then I thought they were good. Bryson, go find Papa. See, this is normal though, right? Like sometimes
totally normal. And our audience
get on meetings and there's
totally
some
gets this
going out of the background. I'm like, this is my life. Yeah. So the doctor, said just keep all 3 home till Monday. They're okay. They're obviously they're upstairs playing, but and that's the dynamics of working and having children.
I have literally been taping podcasts like you and I are right now. When my granddaughter is up, we're looking at me and you can't see her, and she's just hitting every button, asking for this. Can I go on screen time? Can I do this or that? When you're vulnerable, right? You're in the middle of a podcast or a meeting, and they're still characters and they're still kids, but it's just part of living the grand life, and they are a blessing to us, but it's we are a blessing to them as well, providing that stability. And so when I'm chatting with you, Representative Thompson, I'm thinking not only are you the advocate for your grandkids, you're the advocate for all of our grandkids in Michigan. I mean, it's just, and I hope our listeners get that. This is someone who did not go to school thinking, I can't wait to run for office. I know I want to be a nurse like my mom. I want to give back. I want to take care of folks and help them live healthy lives. And then this changed. And now your background, which is absolutely perfect to be the advocate for grand families and kinship caregivers in the state of Michigan, it's really a divine calling that you've stepped into. The odds didn't look good. You didn't think you were going to win, and amazingly enough, that happened. So what would you say has been the biggest hurdle to your grand family situation so far? What have been the biggest challenges you've had?
I would say I love you too, Bryson. His room is above my office. So he is talking to me through the vent. He's our 6-year-old. He's 6 now. So now there's 6 7, and 9.
Okay.
I think there has been a lot of challenges. One of the challenges is because of the situation with them losing their mother and their father not being involved in their life, not by my choice, wanting to make sure that they know how much they're loved, wanting to make sure that they don't feel that dad's not here because they weren't worthy of him to be here. So having those conversations, especially with the older one who's 9 and asks a lot of questions, is changing the dynamics. So, I'm older. My husband and I, this isn't our first time raising children. Maybe in my 20s, I would have been angry. Maybe I would have, cursed their father to them. But I didn't want to do that. We didn't want to do that. Looking at things a little differently with experience and saying, you know what, dad is just being a stupid, selfish adult right now. And he loves you so much. He's just, sometimes adults are selfish and he's trying to figure himself out, but that's not because he doesn't love you. You are so worthy of love and so wonderful. And yes, he loves you. He loves you very much.
Right.
So I don't think in my 20s, I might have taken that approach. So
Really
struggling with being mature in the situation, making sure that their mental health is always first and foremost above maybe how I feel about things.
Right.
That has been a challenge. Making sure that I'm present for my husband, and that I'm providing for him, the relationship that we need as husband and wife.
Right.
And making sure that the house is taken care of and that things are organized and everything tries to run as smooth as possible, even when there's a lot of bumps in the roads. And I think that's what makes me, as the representative of the district that I represent, just like everyone else. And that's, to me, that's the best thing that I could show people, is that I have, a home. I drive a minivan that has 230,000 miles on it. My husband and I are still going to the grocery store going, man, put those snacks away. We can't afford a $6 box of muffins that have 4 little muffins in the pack. We're just like everyone else, trying to raise our children in a world that is throwing arrows at us every time we turn around.
Right.
Navigating, Lansing and the political world, and trying to always, which I am always myself, but I think there's a part of me, just the nurturing part of me as a nurse, that I see everyone as genuine because I believe I'm genuine.
Right.
And I don't ever feel that I have to protect myself or hide myself or be careful for what I say or who I talk to, because everyone's genuine, because that's just how I see them. And there's a little bit of naivety to that. So I had to kind of work my way through that. And I think I really have. I don't have to change who I am. I just have to be conscious of not everyone is genuine like I think they are. So there's some naivety that I feel I had to work through, and I still work through, being human.
But you're optimistic when you meet folks and you meet your colleagues that they mean what they say, right? That they're not trying to manipulate a situation and try and make things better for the citizens of Michigan. And I know I speak for our audience. We just appreciate you running for office. We appreciate your advocacy in Lansing, and you have a busy, full plate with grandkids, husband, managing a house, also I don't know, do you have to go to Lansing every week to?
Yeah. So when things are a little bit different right now because there has been some changes in obviously the situation where we were a 56-54 house. 2 of the members ran for mayoral seats, so their seats are vacant right now and they haven't held those elections. So because we're at a 54-54 sort of block, our schedule has lessened a lot in Lansing. On a normal, back last year, as my first year, this is going into my second year as representative. The first year I was in Lansing, always Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Okay.
We have our committee hearings, and that's what maybe the general public don't know. So you as a representative, I'm home in district, basically I would say Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday on a normal session period. And then I go to Lansing Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. We have our session hearings in the afternoon and then our committees in the morning. So if you serve on a committee, then you have your committee hearings, you're meeting with people that have legislation they want to talk about or present. You have a ton of meetings throughout the morning, and then you do your session in the evening. Now, when I first went to Lansing, coming from the world of nursing, knowing that I work 12-hour shifts, sometimes to pick up extra money, I might work 5 12-hour shifts.
Right.
And I was still able to leave the house at 6, sometimes get home at 10 and raise my children. And then the dynamics of when I thought I could do that in Lansing and I would come home in the evening, even if it was an early day and I got home at 5 or 6, I found that my husband was right in the middle of getting them to do their homework. And then they would get all riled up because Grammy's home.
Right.
So it kept kind of throwing a wrench in their stability. So I found that if I just left on Tuesday morning, I stayed in Lansing Tuesday night and Wednesday night, and then I came home on Thursday, their schedule seemed to run a little bit better than me interrupting it. Now this is going to change. So now, right now, moving forward, it appears that we're only going to be in Lansing on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. We won't have session on Thursday. So I'm home with them. The committees, I mentioned a little bit about committees. So once you're elected as a representative, you put in a request for the committees that you would like to be a part of or be on. And normally that, I think, has to do with your background, your career, things that you're passionate about. Mm-hmm. You have a choice to be on the policy side of that committee, because there's multiple committees. So there's a committee for the policy on it, and then there's a committee for the appropriations of the budget and the money on it. Okay. So I'm really interested in the policy. I was more interested in the policy. I was fortunate enough to get the 3 committees that I wanted to serve on. A lot of people get that. They put in the request and then it just really lays where it lays. So I serve on family, children, and seniors, which is not a real, and honestly, in like the political world, that's not a glorious committee. That's not a committee that people are like, I want to be on that. No, most people want to be on insurance and energy and economic development and, the really hard headbangers. Right. But for me, it's the family, children, and seniors, because that's what I'm passionate about. And then obviously healthcare, being a nurse, and then the subcommittee behavioral health, because I'm very, very much an advocate for the mental health right now, really, of our children, but of our state as a whole. So serving on those committees is such a blessing to have my voice there.
Well, and next week we're going to have you back again. We're going to talk about what that actually means in the state of Lansing and how you're moving the ball down the field for us. But as we wind up our interview today, what would you say, with looking back on you and your husband becoming part of a grand family, what are the 3 things you wish you knew prior to taking responsibility for your grandkids? What if I'm brand new to this, what should I know?
I think the legality of it was probably first and foremost. And we're still going to be, navigating that world, because we filed for guardianship. We have guardianship, but it's been 2 years. Do we move forward to adoption, or assuming that maybe that the lawyer we obtained to be our counsel for the guardianship, looking back, I thought that kind of took care of it all, because my daughter was gone. She had passed. Right. So I think the legal aspect of it is huge. And that's, not to jump ahead, but that's something I think we can really have conversations about within the legislature, because this is happening so frequently. So the legality of it, because to us, it didn't matter. We just had them. Right. And years go by and we're like, wow, we probably should have looked at this differently and not just assumed getting guardianship meant that we adopted them, I guess, in a sense. Right. That's a big thing. And we were okay financially, so I was never concerned about the finances. I think probably not being so hard on yourself to think that, be worried about, I think what we do, especially because we're older, and when we are doing raising our grandchildren, we've raised children. Mm-hmm. So we look back at some of the things that we may have done differently. And then if that doesn't go the way we think it should with the grandchildren, because we're like, okay, we're not going to make these mistakes with the grandchildren. We see, whether it be having a disagreement with them in front of, my husband and I thought, I saw the faults in that and what that did to my kids, because I was the nurturer, he was the disciplinarian, and okay, we're not going to do that. So when you fall into that trap sometimes and you get angry at yourself, or you feel like you're not doing a good enough job, or you're trying so hard to make life so perfect for them because they're so precious, to not be so hard on yourself. That's great. All of these little things that you think matter really don't matter in the grand scheme of things. They don't.
I love that. So you would say, know the legalities of what the course you're on, whether it's through the foster system or guardianship or adoption, and then give yourself a break. Give yourself some slack. Don't be so hard on yourself. That's really good. That's
I like to see give yourself grace. We all need to give each other grace.
grace. Yep. Unmerited favor. I love that. We that's absolutely and unequivocally what we need. And it has been such a blessing to have you on our podcast here today. It's a Grand Life. We look forward to next time, Representative Thompson, when we talk about politics and how to move the needle in Lansing. But thanks so much for being our guest today. And we look forward to seeing you next time on It's a Grand Life. Thank you for joining us today for It's a Grand Life. It's a Grand Life provides vital content, regulatory updates, and subject matter experts that are committed to supporting the 2.4 million kids and their caregivers from every neighborhood, every city, every tribe and territory nationwide. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel or wherever you get your podcasts and leave a review. Every new subscriber and review helps us reach others that need assistance. As caregivers, we are united in purpose. We are driven by hope while providing strength for today and hope for tomorrow. We are truly making a difference while living the Grand Life. If you have a suggestion for a future episode, please reach out to us. But we'll see you next time for another It's a Grand Life. Thank you for joining us.